People have told stories of the strange and supernatural for centuries. Tales of the restless dead return to haunt the living. Whispers of damned souls doing the devil's bidding on earth. Rumors of inhuman things that still hunt the old forests, untouched by the glare of modern life. There may be more to these stories than you could ever imagine. Join us tonight as we delve into the deeper truth inside these mysteries.
Hello, and welcome to the realms of the supernatural. Hello, I'm Andy Macker.
And I'm Lee Solway.
How the devil are you all?
And thank you to anybody that's listening on the UK Paranormal Radio Network.
Yes, hello.
Right, today we are talking about ghost lights.
Okay, then ghost lights. What are they?
Ghost lights. Okay, so they're a combination of things, really. I mean, anything from, because when we get into this, you'll hear people saying that it's cases of swamp gas.
Right. Okay.
These sort of things. Earth lights, that's another thing. But essentially, they're these lights that drag or lure weary travellers to their peril.
Are we talking about the so much famed myth Will-o'-the-Wisp?
Will-o'-the-Wisp, that's the perfect example of it, yeah.
Can you remember that on the
I remember that,
when I was young?
It was more of a ghost, though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was a cartoon, wasn't it?
Was it Edna? Was it Edna the television or something?
I can't remember. It was about 60, wasn't it?
She was evil, she was.
Well before my time, but essentially it's that, yeah. So you'll get a weary traveller and you'll see this light, think someone is in distress, go over to help them, and then he'll end up in trouble himself. Yeah. Depending where you are in the world, they've got different names. These do seem to crop up all around the world, so it's not like localised to the UK or anything like that, although I would say the majority of cases probably are in the UK, or the folklore at least. But, like I say, it's not exclusive to the UK. Around the world then, so they're known as fool's lights, it's obviously the fool you, or a fool will go to them, so I guess that's two meanings. Jack-o'-lanterns, and we'll come on to a story about Stingy Jack, and that crops up there, so that's probably why. Spook lights, obviously we've mentioned ghost lights. Will-o'-the-wisp. Yep. I've also got Will of the Torch, because that comes from this Stingy Jack story again, like I say. Orbs.
Yeah,
obviously.
I've seen a lot of them.
Earth lights.
Yeah. And
then if they're seen in... Often they're seen in graveyards, and this might be one of the explanations for this. Is that it's bacteria that's eating something in the ground, okay, and then it produces like a bioluminescent gas. If you imagine, and then obviously that lights up. So
it's seen in certain conditions for that one, isn't it? Really?
Well, that's the thing. But it would have been seen in graveyards. It's possible that it's eating the person, or the people that have been laid there. And in graveyards, there was known as, or still known as, I guess if you see them now, ghost candles, which is quite nice. As well as graveyards, they are commonly seen over bogs, swamps, marshlands, that kind of things. Again, so you got this vegetation. What do you call it? What do you call it?
Gases and combustion.
The vegetation's deteriorating, isn't it?
Yeah.
In swamps and that. So that is
like
produced.
Compost, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's composted. So that is what's producing potentially this gas, which becomes the light or the bioluminescence.
Yeah. I'd say within, I reckon they're, to me, 15% in all cases. 15%, very low. Well, I reckon the rest are.
Yeah, well, I've got a case here which totally blows that out of the water. Yeah. I've got a case here which, you could say that's probably what's going on there. But there's one that's a bit, that doesn't fit quite as easily. Okay, so causes then. Obviously, we spoke about the scientific causes already. But if you go back to folklore, fairies would commonly crop up with these. If people saw these, they thought it was like fairy folk. So, drunk Jack, which I'll come on to. In Mexico, they used to think it was witches or the souls of unbaptized children that had died. Similar in a lot of the South American countries as well. Although in Brazil they also thought it was a fiery serpent god of some description.
It's light, isn't it? Especially at night time.
Trinidad and Tobago, they believed it was caused by some sort of witch as well. But it'd be a fiery ball, which if it got near you would drink your blood. So again, but one of the cases here then. So this case takes back these. Right, there's been a lot of cases in the Peak District, which is in Derbyshire, in England.
Quite a few times. Have you been a few times?
Yeah,
I usually go there. Castleton's fantastic.
These crop up
around there, mate.
Regular there. A lot of people see them, probably don't report them.
Yeah.
But we do on average get 2 cases a year at least. So this particular one takes place in 1969, and it was a lady called Barbara Dabble.
Right.
Okay, and she'd been to visit her mother's in Manchester, which is an hour from the Peak District, something like that. And she was travelling back at night time, driving home, and it was a warm summer's night. Okay, everything was normal, and as she turned into the valley, she noticed as soon as she turned into the valley valley just lit up blue.
Oh, okay.
Like a blue light, okay? And obviously at first she thought it was some sort of aircraft or something like that, and then she realised it was just a constant blue. She said it wasn't dazzling at all, it was bright. Right. She could see all the the rocks on the hillside and all that. She could make them out like it was daylight. If possible, even lighter than daylight, okay? Or brighter than daylight. Although it wasn't dazzling to the eyes. Now she drove through this for a few minutes before she reached home, and obviously when she got home she ran inside to get her husband Ken, dragged him out. She said, we won't believe what's going on outside and all this. So he comes running out with her, and obviously it's all gone.
Right.
And he says, look, it's a summer's night, so I mean it is bright till late, but he was saying, look, you're tired, you've been travelling and all that, and maybe your mind's playing tricks on you, that kind of shit. But she said, no, absolutely, I know what I saw and all the rest of it. She said, when I was in there, she said, I was freezing and all that. Anyway, she went across to the car, and she just rested on the car, and when she touched the car, there was like, her hands were cold.
Mm.
And when he looked at it, there was like an icy film over it. Now, this is a summer's evening. Mm. She just drove back from Manchester in his car, and the car, over the bonnet, had ice on it.
Yeah, I can understand that.
He touched it, and he felt it was cold as well, and he also held air, and she was cold to touch. So something happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like if you go in a house or building, and you go into a certain, the house is quite warm, and you go into another room, all of a sudden it gets freezing cold. What's going? All the rooms are warm except for this one.
Mm.
It's the same thing. It's
I've
something's coming into the atmosphere and it's just as soon as that person or being has come to the atmosphere, the ether just changes.
Yeah, well, you get
temperature
a lot, don't
drops,
you? On ghost hunts, people are saying the temperature's changed now.
I've definitely been, I've been a few places, and the temperature just dropped completely.
I know we are sensitive to temperature change as humans, not that accurate.
You can put many things. I mean, a window open, or it could be a draft, or it could be anything.
Well, you do that, don't you, on a night on that? Shit we've been watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
I might play a clip of that towards the end, but
yeah.
If anyone's been watching anything on YouTube, because you get on these YouTube wormholes, don't you? Where you put something on, then it jumps to the next video, and you end up watching that, and then you watch. And I was halfway through a video the other night, and I was thinking, what the fuck am I watching this for? And I just turned it off because it was just this bloke running around. And the title of this episode was called something like Bigfoot Howls at Me Aggressively, or something like that. And I was watching this thing. It's about 20 minutes long, and I was like 10 minutes into it, and he was looking at twigs on the ground and all this, and saying, "Oh yeah, this is, you can see where it's come through here and all this shit." And then off right in the distance, you heard this howl, right? And anyone that's heard a moose or even a fox or anything, these animals are loud in the woods, Yeah.
Badgers.
I mean, you can imagine how loud a moose was. And this could be anything.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Bigfoot's not out there, and I'm not saying that, but this could literally... And I've watched this thing for 20 minutes or a quarter of an hour.
Maybe you wait for something to pop out the woods and say, Bigfoot.
But I wasn't the only person who was fooled by it, because it had like 1 million views, so there's a lot of people...
Got 1 million views,
Well, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, where was I? So she gets back home, the car's icy, she's cold, he takes her inside, not set, and then nothing else happened after that, okay? And like I say, there was reports in between, but 3 years later, a friend of hers called, and she run the local youth hostel.
Right.
And she'd rung her up, she says, you're not going to believe this, those lights that you told us about, because you've been telling people, and people said, yeah, you're full of shit. But she said, those lights you was telling us about have come back. We can see them now, we're stood in the window, we're looking at them. And she had, obviously, quite a few people in the hostel as well. And everyone was watching these lights, and the valley was just lit up blue again. So she tells her husband Ken, and he's part of the although he was like the chief national park warden, he was part of the search and rescue crew as well.
Okay.
Okay, so he instantly goes into rescue mode, because remember, these are called false lights, because they convince you, or people think this is a traveller in distress. So it's no different now. I know it's just in the 70s, but there's no difference. So he immediately goes into rescue mode and gets down to the youth hostel, teams up with another rescuer, and they drive up there in his Land Rover, get out to where he was staying, and he puts this big lamp on. In them days, they used to have these big gas lamps.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think I'd want to be strapped to this fucking thing. But if you imagine, it's the size of a dustbin, okay, the light is, the lens, and it's got a gas pack on the back, and it straps over your shoulder, so, the weight's balanced out, and essentially it just straps to your chest, strap in, and then it just lit it up like a candle. I mean, fucking hell, can you imagine being attached to that? Anyway, luckily we don't have them anymore, but he puts that on, and he radios back, can you see me? And they say, yeah, we can see you. And he says, am I in the right location where you saw the light? And she says, you absolutely bang on where we saw the light. The only thing is, that gas lamp, remember, it's the size of a dustbin lid. She says that's nothing in comparison to what we've just seen. That is like a candle in comparison.
Yeah.
The light that we saw, remember, she said it was so bright. It was like brighter than daylight. Now, that's what this woman said. She said, that light that we saw is a lot brighter than what what you're displaying up there. Obviously, he rambles around for a bit, and he can't find anything. No sign of any travellers up there. Nothing. But he still don't believe it. Obviously, he's still sceptical. Fair enough. He never saw it himself, so he comes back down and he's, he just says, I can't explain it. Now, I've had that blue light, right? I don't know if you've heard of exploding head syndrome. I think I might have mentioned this before, I'm not sure.
Not sure, mate.
But essentially, what it was... Now, I don't know if the light... I don't know... Generally, I don't think the light's part of this, okay?
Yeah,
but I was those...
different, but go on.
What it was... Normally, exploding head syndrome is like you're falling asleep, or you're on the cusp of falling asleep, and then you lay honestly, I'm not exaggerating when I say this. It sounds like someone's just got a gun and fired a bullet off next to your head. That's how loud it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shocking. It really is shocking. It's called exploding head syndrome. Now, when this happened to me, it's only happened once, but when that happened to me, I was just falling asleep, and as soon as I started, my eyes opened, and the bedroom was lit up blue. I mean, an eerie blue.
Yeah.
Obviously, I could see everything in that room. I could, unlike she said, that she could make out rocks on the hill. I could see everything. This room was lit up blue. Now, obviously, that exploding head syndrome is eternal. It's internal. It's something your body's producing. Okay.
Well, it's actually not your body. It's actually it's your mind. Your mind's because you're seeing. Again, it's just before you go to sleep, before you leave your body. So if you're waking up, you're about to go, and you wake up, you'll see because your third eye, your pineal gland, is on high. Bang, bang, bang! It kicks in, so you'll see a bit more than you're going to see. So yeah, but I've never seen airy blue. I mean, it's quite fascinating.
But that's interesting.
Is that like infrared, airy blue? Like if you we play siphon filter or something like that.
No, like when
goggles
green.
come on.
No, this was
like,
that. I mean, that's one of the worst things I hate on games. That night vision on games.
Yeah, because you can't see.
It's fucking shit. You can't see
jack shit. You might turn it off.
May as well have
you can see it all yellow, and you just bump into the buildings.
I'd sooner just turn the brightness up on the TV. And
good.
But yeah, that night vision is crap. This, what I saw, like I say, was as if someone had turned a light on in the bedroom. Yeah. It was that bright, but it was blue.
A blue bulb.
Yeah, it really was strange. But I don't think that's common with this. Because I've spoke to other people that have had exploding head syndrome, but they didn't necessarily see any light. I don't know if they opened their eyes or not.
Mine's I just get people call my name.
But it is interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, that happens. You know, it's a documented phenomenon. It does happen, and that is made, like you say, your mind is creating that, or something's creating that. Whether we're going to the astral realm or something at the time, I don't know. But it's
about to leave your body. You get into maybe your pineal gland goes on high. It's like a security system, I suppose. When you're away, that it looks after your body or something. You know, again, we come to possession. Again, it's like a force field, but if you're awake, it's actually around you. So that could be the force field.
But it makes you wonder because
it does. It's great.
You get people that say they've been abducted by aliens and that, and they'll say that the room was lit up and this shining light was going through the window and all this. And I think, well, maybe that was just something that was in the, what your mind's making.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to a guy the other day at work, Dan, and we was talking about ghosts, and he was saying that some people he knew had experience with poltergeist activity. And he was saying that ghost and this water ghost and all that. So I said, well, not necessarily poltergeist activity. It's not necessarily a ghost. A lot of that is created by human beings.
Yeah.
Psychic phenomenon, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these poltergeist cases is young girls going through puberty and that seems to trigger it off. And so that is being created by the person. It's not a spirit coming in. Unless,
it's how powerful beings we are.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Because we can create many things with our mind, and then it lingers in the atmosphere. And, all it takes is just to kick off. We are all magicians in a way. Well, we are all magicians. I mean, you again we're not Saturday. And you brought back your memory, and I forgot all about it because about when we went to see Rich Planet. And again, this is typical, orb. I've seen a lot of orbs, and then after an orb, I can see a person or whatever. This one was the first time I've ever seen an orb, then also an animal. I've never seen animals. The only time I saw an animal was I was doing a reading in someone's kitchen, and someone was walking around my leg, and there was a black cat around my leg, but it wasn't. It was
a ghost cat.
Ghost cat, yeah, but it was a cat. But when we went to that Rich Planet. And we stayed that room, didn't we, on the B&B, and you went to sleep, and we were all like house and diet. So because you said to me on Saturday, I thought, oh God, I forgot all about that. And I said, I saw this orb. No, come to me. It went to you because I try and get to sleep because your bed's over here, my bed's over there. I see this orb, and it wasn't bright. It was just like a dim. I thought, what's going on? And also in this orb, it was a cat. And the cat was on your chest looking at you. That's why
I should point out that we don't generally share the same bedroom. This was,
no. This
was a B&B that we went to in York.
Yeah, because we went to Richard York, didn't we?
Yeah.
To the Rich Planet a lecture.
So
again, the bright light, with the bright light came this animal. So possible these white lights are beings or entities.
And then you started
but that's their
shouting, didn't you?
Well, I thought...
Turn the light on, there's a cat in your bed, and I fucking knocked my pint over and everything.
Like, your pint was down there, wasn't it? I thought you would have seen it.
The bed was wet through, yeah.
I thought you would have seen it. It was just sat. It was amazing because I've never seen an animal. I've seen a lot of orbs, but this time, all of a sudden, the orb just turned, and it was a black cat, and it just sat on your chest.
Yeah.
And then, it was looking at your face. I thought, oh my God, is it your cat?
And then it was late. I mean, it was early hours in the morning. And we was trying to get back to sleep, and there was somebody running above...
A landing, wasn't it?
A landing above, yeah. And then obviously in the morning, we asked the lady who runs the B&B, we said, obviously, there was someone running about last night, but early hours in the morning. She said, where was you? So we told her what room we was in. She said, there's nothing above you. That's the attic.
Yeah, but there's footsteps in there, aren't there?
Footsteps running around, yeah. You know where you can see.
Absolutely.
You got a wooden roof. You can see it moving, bowing.
I absolutely also, I think I told you, we had a big bay window there, the big window, and it went out. And I had ears on me back in my neck because I saw people looking at me through the window. Yeah. I did, it didn't bother me. And I bothered because I got my mate Matt Whitewolf. He looks after me.
You don't know, do you? I mean, a lot of these B2Bs, some people do film the room.
No, but I know there's like somebody outside looking in.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, I'm not. I just thought someone's out the window. I thought, no, just get some sleep. But it was it's a very spooky place, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Spooky place. I love them places. Like I love to be in them places because it's what you experience. It's great, mate. So anyway, so these obviously. So I think these white lights or will-o'-the-wisp, whatever. I think they can be linked to, if seen, straight away there could be an appearance of an entity or a being or a creature or anything.
Yeah. Well,
maybe that's the calling card. Is it every light different? Is it every light different colour, or is it all the same colour?
Seems to be generally blue, occasionally white, but more or less blue.
Could be their calling card.
Well, the Glossop Mountain Rescue, obviously, is the sort of the mountain rescue in that area, and they say they get high reports from that area of people seeing lights up on the hillside. Because normally, if someone's in distress, they'll send up a flare, or if they've got something where they can make a light, an SOS with a torch or something, that's what they'll do. So people see this flickering light and report it to the mountain rescue. The mountain rescue will go out and not find any trace of anybody. And they say this happens regular. Yeah. They go up to these mountains, and I know they're going to find it, but they can't not go.
Yeah, they have to go.
So it is high reports, they said, in that area of this. Obviously, one of the people that was looking into this thought it might be something to do with because I know it's a national park and that, but they've actually got, I guess it isn't the same in most cases. It's how would you describe the peaks? It's not really a forest, is it? It's like it is like marshy land. It's rocky. A lot of peaks there, isn't there? What you can traverse.
So it's not really a place where we to walk. It's quite dangerous. And
yeah,
like a boggy area, we have
a
swamp
walks there, don't we?
Yeah,
like even some of them have got like shingle paths now, haven't they? But there is pylons that run across it. Okay, because it's like I say, it's right in the heart of the country, so there is pylons that run across it, and a lot of people thought that this might be generated from the pylon. But the National Grid guy come out and he had a look at these pylons and said, nah. He said, we do get arcing, and it's because you stand on a pylon when it's damp and you can hear them, can't you?
Cracking as well. Yeah,
fucking hell, I wouldn't live in a
I used to when I was little. We used to go across the road, and it was near where the Legend was. We used to be all field before the golf course. We used to go there, and right down the bottom there was a massive pylon, a massive one. It's gone to there most nights, and it crack, bump, fizzing everywhere.
You didn't see no lights or no?
No. You just
because that's what the guy from the National Grid said.
Just said no lights.
He said we'll get arcing and that when it's damp and that, but generally you won't see any light from that. The arcing is happening, but you won't generally see a light. So, and I know that, like you just said there, I've heard it myself. Although, incidentally, poltergeist, a lot of houses that have poltergeist activity generally are near pylons. Yeah. And the reason for that is I think it produces high EMF. And obviously high EMF can make you hallucinate.
Correct.
So
also, the most active poltergeist houses you'll find, they'll always near water. Always.
That as well, yeah.
I had a few down. It was a few years ago when I got called to some houses to have a look what was going on. 9 times out of 10 it was off near Boulevard. Yeah. The water. Yeah. And you knew, the more you go past Boulevard, you've got the houses on the front, you've got the water, they're rife. I've had 2 people call me out for them.
You get a lot of ships that are water as well, don't you? So even to go ships.
And then and obviously remember the old days, the docks. People used to wait down on the docks. The people.
Well, one of the most haunted roads in Grimsby is the Fishdock Road, isn't it?
Yeah, Fishdock Road. Yeah,
people get seen there all the time.
Mate, yeah.
Prozzy's down there mainly, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I'll keep away from them, like.
That's why you've been down there.
I don't like. They have to pay for me, like. I'm not paying for them.
Not without any teeth.
No, definitely not, mate.
So anyway, the another case that came from is exactly the same area, more or less, is the case of Levine Marshall and her daughter Stacey. And they were on the way back from Heathrow, I think it was. She'd been dropped her son off. Anyway, there's her driving back, and it was dark. It was late at night. Same valley as the other cases, right. And where this mountain rescue were reporting things. They're driving along. Anyway, Levine's driving along, and she sees this light, and she thinks that Stacey's messing about with a torch. Right. And she said to Stacey, "Turn up the torch. I'm trying to drive, And she says, "I haven't got a torch." And she looks across, and on the dashboard, if you imagine they're driving along, both sat there, driver's seat, passenger seat, and just in front of them, there's 5 dancing little orbs, about the size of a tennis ball, jumping up and down the dashboard. Really bright, and these were a white light, I'd say, and there was lighting up the car inside. Anyway, they're watching, and the daughter was saying, like, Stacey was saying, well, what's going on, ma'am? And she said, just pay no attention to them, just ignore them, because she didn't know what to do. She was frightened. She just kept driving, and then in her mind she was thinking, if we just keep driving, we're going to come to a village soon. Once we're in there, the street lights and that, and we can jump out the car and whatever. So that was in her mind. Just keep moving, get to this village as fast as I can. Anyway, and she was unnerved by these. She was frightened by them. That's something that the other lady said she was frightened as well.
Strange.
When she's going through this light, obviously.
So she was driving. Her daughter was in the back.
And they were sat next to her in the passenger seat.
Didn't she ever try to touch the orbs or to went through them?
No, she didn't. No, they both just sat there watching them. Anyway, as they drove along, the orbs went from the front to the back.
Okay.
And dancing on by the back window.
Yeah.
Just bouncing up and down. All moving independently of one another. And then at some point, as they neared this village, they just went out.
It's gone.
It was gone. So that is... It's a little bit different than just something composting down, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Not in a car. Again, it's obviously... Is it... Are they connected to the girl, or are they connected to the mother? Again, there might have been... Again, late at night.
I got the wrong one.
Yeah.
I thought I was getting the sweet apple side of that one.
You got strawberry ones.
And I got strawberry and lime. It's all right.
Can't drink cider, mate. Can't drink it.
Well,
stuff.
I don't like it. I've only had 4 cans today.
At all. Got a granddaughter soon.
Now there is a geochemist in the area.
Is that bottle yours?
No, you can have it if you want.
All right, then. I'll have a quick one. You know me.
Yeah.
I don't drink much.
Yeah, there's a...
Have we got chili?
Don't leave home without one.
Absolutely, mate.
There's a geochemist in the area called Paul McCartney. It's unfortunate, isn't it?
Paul McCartney.
And he's been doing experiments with granite, because there's a lot of granite around the Peak District, and one of the possible explanations for this is that it is caused by the granite in the area, because you'll see in a lot of places where you've got standing stones, there's a famous one up in Scotland, and people go there regular to see this stone, because above this stone you'll get like an orange ball.
Yeah.
Builds and builds and builds, and then eventually it just dissipates, or it flies off. And obviously there's a lot of legends about this particular stone. But he's been doing experiments, because he knew about this, and he's been doing experiments with granite. He's been getting cores of granite and crushing them in a press. I mean, real high pressures. And as he's crushed them, these orange balls have come out, like orbs. And they've lasted seconds. They're not like a fleeting thing where you have to slow down the camera to see it. These things just fly around for a few seconds.
I still believe, but again, obviously stone is a fantastic conductor of energy. It's obviously that's where you got your stone from. Your Stonehenges and all this lot. These people many thousand years ago knew it was a fantastic conductor of energy. I believe Silbury Hill, which is again in Wiltshire, I've been there 3 times. I've been, that magnetic. We'll have to go one day. One time, and you climb it, you can feel, your body's, it's like a humming, your body's humming, it's magnetic, you know what I mean, and it's you can feel the energy, you can feel the energy on it, and you've got a watch. If you go up to it, it just stops. Your watch will not work. Nothing. My cousin went and he tried a couple of times for that. The watch just stops, bang. So I think. Again, if this guy's actually doing experiments on stone, he's crushing it and whatever, and that could be the energy inside the stone released. You see, so again, I think it's Stonehenge and all the henges. There has to be a. But the orbs in the car, you can't explain the granite, can you?
No,
that's again,
it's difficult. I mean, his experiments prove that rocks can make lights, I guess. And again, like I say, they weren't just fleeting things. These were floating around for several seconds. You might see a butterfly floating around. That's what.
So they was actually in the stone then.
Yeah, when he's crushed the stone, this produces this.
There you go.
So that explains some of it, but it doesn't explain the like you say, the one in the car is difficult, and the whole valley to light up is not this. It's not granite being crushed. Obviously, granite can be crushed, I guess, if you've got like like seismic activity, whatever, that could produce that. But the whole valley lighting up for minutes, even the bioluminescent bacteria, so it seems a little bit difficult to explain that. Okay, but that is the most credible thing I've come across. I've got a folklore story here, which is probably more credible, I guess, but no, it's not. But I don't know. I if anyone's got any ideas on this, what it could be, and obviously you can't rule out aliens. Aliens for everything.
You always go about aliens.
It's not aliens. It's not aliens. But everyone's got any ideas what this could be.
I've seen energy in action, and I've seen it out the ether. I mean, I've seen spirit people, of course I have. Even animals now, which are very rare. I do that. There was one night where, and this was out the atmosphere, the ether, and he asked me why. My wife was there, and it was actually I think she saw it. I saw this thing come out. It's like white, and I thought, and I was buzzing. So I put my hand out. And I told you, I must have told you. And this stuff, it just started to wrap around my fingers. It looked like I had all rings on my fingers, but it was wrapping. I was so fascinated. I was inside this. It's not a swirl. It wasn't. You could see right through it. It was like smoke, but it was thinner than smoke. It was very, and then it just started to wrap around my fingers. And I had rings on it. Time. So we know there's energy there, and it can manifest as different things, as lights. And then all of a sudden it'll be a bit out of that little orb comes something else. So is that orb or something? It's calling card. Has that got is the blue or the green or the white? Is that their? I could call it somebody's. If somebody's more advanced than somebody else, would they have a different colour? Would they? Say somebody was been in the spirit world for say 300 or 400 years. And he's quite advanced. Would his energy, his aura be brighter than someone else who's just gone there?
I don't know.
You don't know, do you?
I don't think anybody's in the spirit world, so.
Well, they are, but I mean that's sure. But I know they are. But I know every individual has a different calling card. Your sister could come through. My sister could come through, and she could be.
Oh, what I'll do?
Glowing blue. Well, then my dad can come through. He'd be glowing white. So again,
on the old hangout
just the
there,
ether,
on the Facebook, on the hangout, I will put a poll on there, and then I'll see what people say, and then next week I'll tell everybody what people thought what most likely it is. I mean, last week, obviously, after we had the pterodactyl show, put a poll up there, and I noticed that the top. Because obviously it was, do you believe pterodactyls could still exist and be around? And the top answer on that was yes, actually. It surprised me. And then no, and then maybe. So
yeah. Well, again, I believe that they're not living in this realm. They're living in another realm. And again, it's just again, it has been. Another fantastic man full of knowledge is Jordan Maxwell, and Jordan Maxwell actually said he saw him. But they came in. And then they just disappeared. They went in.
I like Jordan Maxwell, but he's one of these people who says, "Oh yeah, I know this story and all this, but I can't tell you told me, and I can't tell you this."
Yeah, I know.
There's too much of that.
He's got that, but he has been. He's attempted his life many times.
Well, he says he has. He's still alive.
Of course he is. Yeah. Again, some people had to stay alive. Some people, they can kill him.
Yeah.
Again, but you got you got the fantastic David Icke, who I think who's a fantastic bloke, and I think he thinks it's really true.
But he's being closed down everywhere he goes. But he's not saying people are trying to take him out,
killed,
is he?
No,
that's what he's not saying. People are trying to kill him, though.
No, he wouldn't.
That's what I mean.
Well, he says, "I won't be allowed to. I will not. I will not be allowed to be killed. You're not touching."
Well, it would look suspicious if he was killed, wouldn't it? But
would it make a difference?
But then it doesn't matter who dies. There's a conspiracy. You know what I mean? You can kill yourself, and it was the Illuminati, can't you?
Yeah, of course you can.
So,
yes.
Right, let's do this. My Weird Story, which is sent to us by listener Claire Sterling, and it's voiced up by the lovely Chelsea.
Lovely Chelsea.
So, if anyone's got a weird story they want to send to us, and it can be about anything, doesn't necessarily have to be paranormal. just send it to supernaturalpod, that's supernaturalpod, @gmail.com. Or go on the website and click on the email there.
Absolutely.
Or send it via Messenger. We're both on Facebook, easy enough to find. If you go to Facebook and you type in Realm of the Supernatural Podcast Hangout, you can find us there. Right, so let's play this. It's an interesting story about her husband's encounter with a strange noise.
Noise and prints.
And prints, footprints, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say beast, but I didn't really see it. So
Yeah, so the cat who's beast.
let's play that.
Okay.
Hey there, Realm of the Supernatural fans. My name's Chelsea, and I'm going to read a short, weird story for y'all. This is from a listener, and I'm not sure if she wants to be named, so I'm going to leave her anonymous, but this is her husband's story. This happened in the woods of Alaska in December of 1999. At the time, there was about 10 inches of hard-packed snow crusted over with ice, plus another 1.5 or so of fresh powder. In such conditions, it's virtually impossible to move silently through the snow. He and 2 of his friends were sitting around a campfire in a clearing playing guitar. They had just stopped playing a song and cracked open their first beers when they heard several loud footsteps at the edge of the clearing, as if the cracking open of cans had startled an animal. All 3 of them jumped to their feet and pulled sidearms, thinking it was a hungry and therefore grumpy moose, or perhaps a bear so sick it came out in winter, which is the most dangerous bear of all. Their torches revealed no animals and no eye shine, and they heard nothing else, so they proceeded cautiously to the area where they heard the crunching footsteps and saw 7 huge tracks. They were about 16 to 18 inches long and 6 to 7 wide, shaped like a human foot but much larger. The distance between each print was 4 to 5 feet, indicating a very long stride. They were too long and narrow to be a bear or a moose. They did not exhibit drag marks as you would expect to see from a bear or a moose in snow that deep. There were no claw marks and no hind foot overlay as you would expect to see from a quadruped. The tracks were very deep, going almost all the way to the ground, suggesting they were left by something quite heavy. There wasn't really any detail on the bottom of the print due to the condition of the snowpack at the time. The guys were spooked and took their guitars and beers elsewhere. 2 of them returned the next morning and looked at the tracks again, hoping to see more detail in daylight, thinking they'd overreacted to something totally normal. Although there's really no Alaskan wildlife that you want that close to you on a dark, moonless night, the tracks were still there, but less defined due to fresh snowfall. He took me to the clearing recently and showed me where they built their fire and where they saw the footprints. I took a tape measure. The campfire had been 4 to 4 feet from the tree line, and the print closest to the tree line was approximately 17 feet from it, much further than the 4 to 5 foot stride length, disproving my theory that cracking open their cans had startled something out of one tree, and when they stood up and yelled, the creature scaled another. The memory has stuck with him for so long that he can still tap out the beat of the footsteps, 7 evenly spaced beats. Neither of us can think of any explanation for the tracks, although we rack our brains every time we drive through that area or the subject comes up otherwise. Although they looked very much like typical Sasquatch prints, that still doesn't explain how they started nowhere and ended nowhere. The shape, size, and lack of hindfoot overlay and drag marks ruled out bears, moose, wolves, and another human, while the spacing and lack of wing marks in the powder rules out a large bird. What do you reckon?
So there you go.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Chelsea. May I say, a fantastic narration of that one.
Yeah, I mean, with it being told by Claire, I know it's a husband story, but with it being told by Claire, I thought it'd be easier for Chelsea to narrate it than me.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that, and thank you very much, Claire, for sending that in to us.
So if you look at that one again, you know, something comes in, something goes out, but it leaves physical prints. It's the same with a ghost. Or I don't like the word ghost, entity coming in the atmosphere. Again, entity comes in, moves around, and you hear what you hear on his company stage. Your floorboards creak, so he's got physical weight. So now we're seeing with these Bigfoot or Dogman or any other cryptid, They're coming in, leaving footprints. Sometimes they're seen, yes, we know, but sometimes just a footprint or whatever. But they're made physical weight, so you can monitor, you can see that. So, is it different? But we know these cryptids are physical, and you say, "Oh well, they live in caves," and I don't believe that, Lee. I'm sorry, man. I can't see them in caves. You know, they're being found by now. You know, it's plus with all this deforestation, the forests are going, being ripped down and that. You know, is this why they're coming out? Because we're destroying their habitat? Possible.
Well, you're going to get more of that, definitely. I think.
Again, I think these are the past, the present, the future working all at the same time, and these cryptids, maybe they're the past. Maybe they're our past, or they could be our future, coming in, doing whatever, and going back out. Possible.
Well, me and Aaron.
I'm not saying it is, but I it's
well,
possible.
It was interesting that they mentioned that these prints started and then ended with as a beginning, and then it's weird that they would just.
Was it 7 strides? She said.
It just starts there and ends there, and but obviously, I mean, they can climm trees, so that's a possibility. But
then would you hear the tree being whistling?
You think so, wouldn't you? But then you look at these videos, and they seem to move very easily through the woods without. I mean, for their size that they're meant to be, they're moving through this. Unless they want to cause noise, they can move through it very gingerly, can't they? So it's very strange, but at speed. I know I was watching one of Todd Standing's videos the other day on this, and he gets some criticisms for his videos because some of them are too good to be true almost. And the one where I don't know if you've seen it, the Bigfoot running up that hillside.
No, you've seen that one.
Yeah, it's obviously a decent sized creature, and it's moving up this mountainside, his hillside, and he gets it on film and all the rest of it. But I actually watched him go to that location. Actually go up there himself and show you, because everyone was saying it's just a man in a suit and all that shit. Well, he actually goes there and shows you this is where it's filmed and this is where it went, and he has to scramble up this thing. His hands are down, he's scrambling up this side, and this thing just literally walks up there. Yeah. And it's a man in a suit, but he's got some balls. Let's put it that way, because that is
and balance
So it's a decent, sheer face there. But the thing I noticed is it goes up there and it goes through, and as it goes through, I think it knocks you see one tree sway, but essentially it moves through there without moving it much trees anyway, and that's the guy in the suit, remember? Well, allegedly. Well, he goes up there and he recreates the same path, and he's fucking knocking shit everywhere, because he's got to go through vegetation, it's there. And there's some parts where it goes through and he couldn't even go in there. It was that thick. So I don't know.
So again, these creatures or cryptids, they can actually go in and out the realms. Possible, like the UFOs do. UFOs do. They definitely they blink in and they blink out.
It seems strange. I mean, again, this on the film it looks like a physical being, but the way it's moving through that, and again, there is one right at the end. You'll see it knock a tree, bend the tree limb, flicks back as it goes through. So it obviously caught that one, but. Its arms are out and everything. It's weird. Anyway, Stingy Jack then. This is one of the folklore reasons for these blue flames that people see. I thought it was an interesting story, so I thought I'd tell you it.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, this makes about as much sense as the other things, really. So I'm still unsure what causes this, but Stingy Jack then. So Stingy Jack was a guy. This is kind of Irish folklore, really, but I mean, a lot of Britain adopted it. But if you imagine, this guy was into gambling, drinking, all the naughty things, and he had a reputation for this as well. Right. And everybody knew him, and everyone knew he was deceitful and would trick you. If you played cards with him, he'd be going away the winner. Yeah, by hook or by crook, okay. And everybody told him, if he carries on this path, the devil will come for him. So anyway, one night, he finishes at the tavern, has a few to drink, and he steps outside, and there's a man there, in the shadows, and calls out to him, "Are you Stingy Jack?" Stingy, I should point this out, because obviously we use this word in Britain, don't we, to mean someone who's tight. Yep. If if you go to a pub with this person, you'll be buying a beer all night.
Yeah,
they
it
are
won't
tight.
be. Yeah.
The wallet never opens, and for that we call the word we use is stingy.
Yeah, as in only in small portions.
Yeah, very tight.
Very tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stingy Jack walks outside and he sees this man in the shadows, and this bloke calls out to him. He says, "Are you Stingy Jack?" And he says, "Yeah, I am. Who are you?" Like, and he says, "I'm the devil. And I've come for your soul. You know, this life you've led, it's got you my attention. You know." So he says, "I can't go without one last drink." He said, "I'm penniless. You know, I've spent all my money in there and in the tavern, like." And he says, I've got no money." And he said, "I can't take me without a drink. You've got to give me, got to grant me that at least." So the devil says, "Well, I'm not sure about this." And Stingy Jack says, "If you're really the devil, right, then you'd be able to turn yourself into a coin so I can buy myself a drink." And the devil says, "Well, I'm not sure about this." He says, "Well, you can't really be the devil then." And obviously the devil at that point says, "Well, I'm the devil and I'll show you." So he turns himself to a coin. Stingy Jack picks up the coin, drops it in his pocket next to a crucifix. It's not clear why he'd be carrying around a crucifix of the life he led, but anyway, the story says, right, so he drops the devil in his pocket with a crucifix. And obviously the devil realises he's been had, right? He's tricked him. So anyway, he comes to a deal. He says to the Stingy, he says, "Right, let me out," he says, "and I'll grant you a few years from extra life, okay?" Now, some of the story says a year, some say 10 years. Let's say 10 years. So he says, "I'll grant you 10 years life." Stingy says, "Okay, that sounds like a fair deal," but he says, "If I die in those 10 years, you can't take my soul, okay?" So the devil says, "Done." So he turns him back to devil, and then the devil goes on his way, and he goes on his way. 10 years later, he comes out the tavern again, and he meets the devil in the shadows again. So the devil says, "You know what I'm here for? 10 years have passed, and you're coming with me this time, and you're not getting out of this one. You know, I know your reputation. You ain't tricking me twice. I'm the devil." So Stingy Jack says, "Well," he said, "last time you let me have my last drink, okay?" He says, "But this time I've got to have a last meal." He said, "I can't trick you with a meal, can I?" So the devil thinks about it for a bit, and he says, "No, probably not." He says, "But I'm not turning myself into a coin." He said, "No, you don't have to turn yourself into a coin." He says, "I tell you what," he says, "I'm pissed, you know. I've had a skinful. I've been drinking all day." He says, "I want one of those apples like that tree." So the devil says, "What, up there?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "You'll have to get me it because I'm, like I say, I can't climb the tree in this. I'm in no condition to climb a tree. And if you're the devil, you'd be able to climb that tree and get me an apple."
Right.
So the devil says, "Okay." So he climbs this tree. He's reaching for an apple, and out of his pocket, Jack throws a few crucifixes on the floor. Devil can't come out of the tree. The devil's looking at him. He says, "You've fucking done me again." You know what I mean? This is how clever he is. Yeah. "You've done me twice." He says, "Right." He says, "I'll do a deal. I'll grant you another 10 years, okay?" And Jack says, "Remember, if I die in the 10 years, you can't claim my soul." And the devil says, "No problem, just let me out of this fucking tree." So anyway, so the deal's done. A few years later, Stingy Jack's drinking habits caught up with him.
Yeah.
And he died. So he does the normal thing, he dies, and his soul goes up to heaven, and he meets Peter at the gates. And he says, "I'm Stingy Jack." He says, "I know who you are." And he said, "We know all about what you've done, and the tricks you've played on people, and lies you've told people, and the fact you've messed about with the devil for a start." But he says, "You're not coming into heaven." So Stingy Jack says, "What does that mean?" Then he says, "Well, you're going to hell." He says, "Well, I can't go to hell." He says, "Well, you better go and sort out with the devil." So he goes to hell, and the devil meets him at the door, and the devil's got a big grin on his face, and he says, "Aha, right. So you did this deal with me, remember?" And he says, "Just let me in." And he said, "Everyone won't let me in. Got to let me in here." He says, "No, remember that deal that we did? If you die within them 10 years, I can't claim your soul." So Jack's left a bit of a conundrum here. So the devil says, "Tell you what I'll do. I will lend you a light to light your way, because you're going to the land between the living and the dead, purgatory. That's where he's cast to be forever, a soul wandering forever." So the devil grants him this flame to light his way, and this is a little blue flame, and he gives it to Jack, and Jack holds it in his hand, and he realises he's dropped a bollock. Right now he's endless. He walked forever in limbo. Anyway, he's walking, and at some point he finds a turnip and carves the turnip out and puts hold the flame, puts the flame inside there, and that's where we get the jack-o'-lantern from. And we use pumpkins nowadays, but
pumpkins.
this was the turnip that he's meant to use. And then he used that because his character never changed. He was still a naughty guy, like so. Then he'd use this lantern to get these travellers to come off course, and then obviously put them in to make him feel better. He'd either kill or maim people. So that's the story of where those lights come from.
Well, all these folklores is there something in them? We don't know.
Well, again, people were seeing these lights and they couldn't explain them, and they have to give them some reason, don't they?
Yeah.
And that was the story they came up with. So the guy who tricked the devil a couple of times.
Yeah, that'll be the devil, and
but that seems more plausible than the bioluminescent bacteria that's lighting up a car, 5 balls, doesn't it? I mean, on the Nunsthorpe, it backs onto, which is an estate in Grimsby, it backs onto a graveyard. My nan used to live on a corner house in Kingsley Grove, and next door, they had a lot of issues with things going on in the house. So you'd say poltergeist stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the most common things in that house was these orbs that would come in and dance around the bedroom. When they'd be in bed, and then these orbs were bright. It was obviously dark in the bedroom, and these would come in, and then you'd see them, and they'd light up around them. Wouldn't light up the room necessarily, but they'd light up enough around them where they'd actually go inside shoes, and it'd go dark, and then they'd come out and they'd light up again. So they weren't going through objects, if you know what I mean. There was actually flying into an object, and we don't have them. What do you call them? Bugs that light up.
The
fireflies,
glowworms and fireflies.
Yeah,
fireflies.
Some
we don't have them. Do
some
we?
called lightning bugs as well.
Yeah, we don't have them.
We don't have them, so it won't.
No, I've never seen any in this. Well, I've seen them, but I've never seen in this country.
I think maybe they do have them somewhere in this country, but we don't have them around here. That is a fact.
No.
So.
But you'd know anyway. You know if it was an
orb. They'd still have to be in the room somewhere, wouldn't they?
Buzzing around, wouldn't you hear the noise? So.
But yeah, they would. Like I say, they fly into objects, and
obviously with the Nunsthorpe, as you were saying, Lee. But you got to understand that that used to be that's what it's called, Nuns Corner. It was nuns and monks and all around here, wasn't it? Around here.
Well, a lot of those.
We've actually got in Nunsthorpe. If you go down Caborn, if you know Caister, back near the barley fields, there is a definitely reported of a headless horseman. Certain times. Now when I was young, there's been many accounts of someone playing on the fields at night and then seen this. It's actually, I think the houses there now, aren't there? Scattertop. I think it was around that area. Yeah, rife. And also with the that cryptid, what was that Goatman? Was on about the Goatman?
Yeah, the little
down
creature
in the dikes.
Yeah,
down there.
I think I've spoke about him on the show before, but he's like
a Goatman, wasn't it?
Yeah, what is he, about 5 feet tall? He's not massive. He's got hooved legs.
That's why they're called Devil's Dyke.
Yeah, he's got the face of a goat. If you picture Baphomet, that's kind of getting close to him. So he's got like a goat's face. He's got the horns. He's got a man's torso, if you like, and like hooved feet and legs and that.
Yeah.
And some of the reports say that he's got glowing red eyes.
Yeah.
If you see him at night, but he's pretty vicious. I mean, he will, if he sees you, he will charge you. He will scare you off. He don't back up. He's never made contact with anybody. And only in the reports, he's never made contact with them.
No, I mean,
he's done enough to frighten them off. Let's put it that way.
I said to you before, I was very young and I used to play down there with my cousin. I was like, Nunsthorpe was my second home, and I always wanted to know why it was called Devil's Dyke. Yeah, because it was not really. It was a bit boggy down there, and it was played off the trees and that. But my cousin told me the story. This is the devil's down there. What mean the devil's got hooves? And I thought it was like bollocks. I thought, crap, but obviously it's not. Something was there.
Some of these stories seem to start somewhere, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but,
I'll put that poll up then. So if people go across to the Facebook, you can take part in the poll. Please come and say hello, as ever. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much indeed.
And keep your weird stories coming in.
Yeah,
got any
keep
of those?
Stories coming in. Come on and hang out, say hello to us. If you've got any weird stories, just keep bringing them in. We'll read them out, or that lovely Chelsea will read them out.
And we've been looking at some a couple of people have sent me location photos where they've been looking for strange things. There's an abandoned village. The guy sent me some pictures of and that, so I'll probably do like a little bit on one of the shows. I'll give you a little bit of what happened there. Yeah. Maybe put some of the pictures up on the Hangout. But yeah, if you've got anything you want to send us, just send it to us by email, and that is supernaturalpod@gmail.com. Okay, just before I forget, me and my friend Aaron now, members of Deborah Hatswell, you may remember, we've had her on the show before. She's got a Bigfoot research group, and me and Aaron are members of it now. And so we'll be working in the Lincolnshire area, that's our area, looking into and investigating any sightings of Bigfoot here in Lincolnshire in the UK. Yeah, there is a lot of Bigfoot encounters, sightings in the UK. Probably a bit more than what you'd expect, or certainly when we first started looking into this, maybe a couple of years ago now. You may remember we did a show on UK Bigfoots. If you hadn't already heard that show, go and check it out. But there is quite a few historical accounts. There's quite a few, probably more so, historical accounts of the Dogman as well. But yeah, so if somebody gets in touch with us with an encounter, obviously we'll try and get down there and have a look around. And we're hoping that if there's anything we're filming or, just this investigation itself, we'll put that out at some point as video or audio, whatever it needs to be, somewhere, and obviously we'll let you know where. But really, we need your help now. So if you've had a cryptid sighting, and we will take any cryptids, Bigfoot, obviously, Dogman, Goatman, Pigman, Mothman, any sort of man. Well, not any sort of man, but any sort of cryptid man. We will take those reports. So if you've had one, whether it's recent or past, or well in the past, or even if you run across a strange article, particularly in the UK, if you run across an old article of these, what they used to call wild men, etc., then you can always pass that on to us. Be something be interesting for us to read. So, but if you've had a sighting here in the UK, we'd love to hear from you. If you've had a sighting of any cryptid creature anywhere in the world, we'd love to hear from you as well. And you can contact us on the same email for this show as well, which is supernaturalpod@gmail.com. So that's supernaturalpod@gmail.com. Or you can contact us through the Realm of the Supernatural Facebook group. Obviously, we don't have to give your real name. It could be as confidential as you like. So, yeah, that's it really. So if you've had a sighting, or anybody that's had a sighting, just send it to us. Get them to send it to us, or you can send it on their behalf. Not a problem, and we'll start sharing them with people. Collect a few, hopefully, and then we'll put them out at some point. So yeah, I thought I'd just mention that before I forget, and I'll keep you up to date with any investigations we go on the show. So that's that really. With that being said, thank you very much. Leave a review if you can, and we will see you on the other side.
Goodbye for now.
Well, they've gone. No, just for now. It wasn't the right time for us to meet. But there'll be other nights, other stars for us to watch. They'll be back.